When a wealthy doctor marries a black mother of five, people laugh at them, but years later, they regret it. Welcome, everyone. Today, we bring you the powerful story of Maple Grove, a town forever changed by the vision of Dr. James Hartley and his wife, Elizabeth. Through their global leadership and innovation center, they connected communities across the world. Stay tuned to discover this inspiring journey. The story begins in the quaint town of Maple Grove, nestled in the lush landscapes of upstate New York. The Hartley family had long been pillars of the community. Charles Hartley, a pharmaceutical magnate, had imbued the town with a certain gravitas and prosperity that few could rival. His youngest son, James Hartley, was a man whose destiny seemed written in the stars from the very moment he drew his first breath. James grew up under the watchful eye of a father whose presence was both inspiring and daunting. Charles, a man of towering ambition and few words, expected nothing short of excellence from his progeny. James, for his part, did not disappoint. His early years were marked by an exemplary academic record and a prowess in sports that made him the pride of Maple Grove. The mansion they lived in was more than a home. It was a monument to the Hartley legacy, with its sprawling lawns, ancient oaks, and halls filled with the echoes of a distinguished lineage. Despite the affluence and prestige, James's childhood bore the weight of expectations. His mother, Evelyn, a woman of grace and benevolence, tried to soften the rigid upbringing dictated by Charles. She instilled in James a sense of compassion and duty, often taking him along to volunteer at local charities, shaping his worldview with a gentleness that contrasted sharply with his father's stern hand. As James matured, his aspirations began to crystallize around medicine, a field that promised a respite from the corporate battles his father waged. He saw medicine not just as a career, but as a calling, one that was noble and pure, where the impact of his work could be measured in lives saved, not just profits earned. His decision to pursue this path was met with surprise and quiet pride from his family, though it diverged from the future his father had envisioned for him. His university years were a blend of rigorous study and burgeoning independence. Maple Grove's golden boy soon became known in academic circles far beyond the confines of his hometown. His charm and intelligence opened doors, but it was his unwavering commitment to his patients that earned him respect in the medical community. Upon completing his residency, a pivotal moment arrived. James made a choice that would define his future. He returned to Maple Grove, driven by a desire to give back to the community that raised him. This decision was celebrated by the townsfolk who saw in him the embodiment of their values: hard work, integrity, and community service. Yet, even as his professional life flourished, a void lingered in his personal life. Relationships came and went, none leaving a lasting mark. His mother worried quietly about his solitary existence, dropping hints about potential suitors from respected families. But James, ever the idealist, held out for a connection that touched his soul, not just one that made social sense. The monotony of his well-ordered life was disrupted one fateful day with the arrival of Elizabeth Morgan, a single mother of five. She moved to Maple Grove under circumstances most dire. With nowhere else to turn, she sought out the one man she heard could change fortunes as easily as he cured ills, Dr. James Hartley. Their first meeting was under the least romantic of circumstances. Elizabeth's youngest son was ill, and in her desperation, she brought him to James's clinic, an unassuming building that stood in stark contrast to the opulence of the Hartley estate. It was in this humble clinic that James met a woman who would challenge every notion he'd ever had about life, love, and duty. Elizabeth was unlike any woman he had ever met. Her beauty was undeniable, but it was her resilience, her dignity in the face of relentless adversity, that drew him in. As he treated her son, he found himself treating something within himself, a yearning for authenticity, for a life where his actions could signify more than just fulfilling familial expectations. What started as a professional interaction soon blossomed into something profound. Elizabeth and her children brought warmth and chaos into James's orderly existence, challenging him to reconsider what it truly meant to live a fulfilled life. Their story, woven into the fabric of Maple Grove, would come to redefine the community, testing the boundaries of acceptance and the power of love to overcome prejudice. This is just the beginning of their journey, a tale of transformation, not just for James and Elizabeth, but for an entire town that would come to see that sometimes the most unexpected choices lead to the most extraordinary outcomes. As the colorful leaves of Maple Grove began to fall, signifying the arrival of another quiet autumn, the winds of change blew not just through the town's picturesque streets, but through the life of Dr. James Hartley, once a figure of admiration and the epitome of a bachelor's life well led. James now found himself at the center of whispers and sideways glances. His association with Elizabeth Morgan, a woman of courage and resilience, and her lively brood of 5, had begun to draw more than just curiosity. It stirred the pot of traditional values deeply held by many in this small community. James's clinic, usually a sanctuary of health and healing, became the stage for this unfolding drama. Elizabeth, with her quiet strength and undying resolve, frequented the clinic not just for her children's colds and scrapes, but as part of the intricate dance of courtship that had begun to play between her and James. Each visit, each shared glance, seemed to deepen the connection, an unspoken bond forged in the fires of adversity and societal scrutiny. One brisk October day, Michael, Elizabeth's eldest son, fell critically ill. His condition was more severe than a typical fall malady, and concern quickly etched itself into every line of Elizabeth's face. James, ever the consummate professional, took charge with a calm that belied his racing heart. As he administered treatment, his actions were tender, his expertise driven by a newfound purpose that transcended professional duty. This was personal, and everyone in his clinic could feel the shift in the air. Through long nights and the anxious wait for Michael's recovery, Elizabeth was a constant presence by her son's side, her faith in James unwavering. The clinic, under the soft glow of nighttime lamps, became a beacon of hope. In those quiet hours, filled with the beeping of monitors and the soft whispers of nursing staff, James and Elizabeth shared stories of their pasts, their hopes, fears, and dreams. It was during these conversations that James saw the depth of Elizabeth's spirit, her dedication to her children, and her resilience in the face of life's harsher truths. As Michael's condition stabilized, a palpable relief washed over all who had been involved. The crisis had brought James and Elizabeth closer, their bond strengthened by the ordeal. It was during this recovery period that James invited Elizabeth and her children to the Hartley family's annual Christmas Gala, an event marked by opulence and a showcasing of Maple Grove's finest. The gala was a spectacle of lights and laughter, the Hartley mansion decked out in all its festive glory. The town's elite mingled in rooms filled with the melodies of a live orchestra and the clink of fine china. Elizabeth, dressed in a simple yet elegant blue gown, stood beside James, her presence causing ripples of surprise and disdain among some of the guests. Yet, she held her head high, her children dressed impeccably, mirroring her courage. James, proud and defiant, introduced Elizabeth as his partner, not just to his friends, but more importantly, to his parents. Charles Hartley's greeting was cordial, if strained, while Evelyn Hartley's was warm, embracing Elizabeth and her children as if they were long-lost family members. This acceptance by his mother was a balm to James's soul, a sign that perhaps the path he had chosen was not so wayward after all. As the evening wore on, the dance floor beckoned. James led Elizabeth to the center, their first dance watched by dozens of eyes. The music swelled around them, a classic waltz that felt like it was composed just for their moment. They moved together seamlessly, the world narrowing down to just the two of them. For those few minutes, the gossip, the stares, and the judgments faded into the background. It was a declaration, not just of affection, but of unity against the odds. The gala ended on a high note, with Elizabeth's grace and dignity winning over even some of her harshest critics. James felt a surge of pride, not just in Elizabeth, but in his choice to stand by her. The ride home was quiet, a comfortable silence filled with mutual respect and an unspoken acknowledgement of a relationship that was rapidly deepening. Winter turned to spring, and the bond between James and Elizabeth grew stronger. They were seen together at various community events, from charity fundraisers to local school functions. Elizabeth's children, once wary of the new man in their mother's life, began to look up to James as a figure of stability and kindness. As the town of Maple Grove watched this family blend and flourish, the initial resistance softened. The sight of the Hartley Morgan family at church on Sundays, at the grocery store, or walking in the park on warm afternoons became familiar, even accepted. The love and unity that James and Elizabeth exhibited did more than just change their lives. They began to transform the community's heart. James's decision to marry Elizabeth, once seen as a social misstep, had blossomed into an example of what true love could overcome. Maple Grove, a town steeped in tradition, found itself re-examining its values, slowly but surely opening its doors to change, led by the example of a doctor who dared to follow his heart. As the warmth of spring enveloped Maple Grove, the blossoming trees and vibrant blooms were not the only signs of renewal and growth in the town. James and Elizabeth's relationship, rooted in shared struggles and nurtured by mutual respect, had begun to transform not only their lives, but also the fabric of the community around them. The couple's visibility at various events, and the genuine affection they displayed, slowly eroded the initial skepticism that some townspeople harbored. Elizabeth, with her indefatigable spirit and warmth, won over many hearts by participating in community activities and volunteering at local schools. Her children, too, became well integrated into their classes and local sports teams, their initial wariness replaced by a burgeoning sense of belonging. As summer approached, the town's annual 4th of July celebration presented an opportunity for James and Elizabeth to further cement their place in the community. This year, James had volunteered to be on the planning committee, and Elizabeth helped organize the children's activities for the event. Their involvement was a topic of positive chatter among residents, marking a stark contrast from the previous year's whispers of disapproval. The day of the celebration dawned clear and bright. The local park decorated with red, white, and blue banners fluttering in the gentle summer breeze. James and Elizabeth arrived early to set up, their laughter and easy teamwork a testament to their deepening relationship. Elizabeth's children, now fully part of the fabric of Maple Grove, ran around with their friends, setting up game booths and decorating the picnic tables. As the town gathered, the atmosphere was festive and welcoming. The scent of barbecue filled the air, and the sound of music mixed with the laughter of children playing. James, once the town's most eligible bachelor, now played host with Elizabeth by his side, greeting townspeople with a warmth that was returned in kind. The highlight of the day came when James and Elizabeth led the opening ceremony. Standing before the community, James spoke not just about the nation's founding ideals, but also about the importance of community, acceptance, and the strength found in diversity. His speech, heartfelt and eloquent, drew applause and cheers from the crowd, many of whom were seeing their doctor in a new light. As the day turned into evening and the fireworks lit up the night sky, James and Elizabeth sat together on a blanket with their children, watching the colorful displays overhead. In that moment, surrounded by the sounds of celebration and the smiles of friends and neighbors, it felt as though they had finally overcome the hardest hurdles. The rest of the summer passed in a similar vein, with James and Elizabeth becoming ever more involved in community life. They attended church barbecues, participated in the local book club, and were even invited to speak at the high school about the importance of community service and inclusion. However, as idyllic as life seemed, challenges remained. Not everyone in Maple Grove had embraced the change that James and Elizabeth represented. Some still held on to their prejudices, uncomfortable with the breaking of unspoken social codes. Quiet disapproval simmered beneath the surface. And it was during the town's annual harvest festival that these undercurrents came to a head. The festival, a celebration of Maple Grove's agricultural roots, was usually a time for the community to come together. This year, however, tensions arose when a prominent town council member made an offhand remark about Elizabeth's involvement in organizing part of the event. The comment, tinged with the old prejudices of the past, was overheard by one of her sons, who confronted the man in defense of his mother. James was quick to intervene, calming the situation with a diplomacy that had become his hallmark. He addressed the council member privately, reminding him of the town's values of respect and inclusivity. The conversation, though difficult, ended with a reluctant apology and a realization for many that change was not only necessary but inevitable. This incident sparked a wider discussion within Maple Grove about its identity and future. It led to community forums, initiated by the town's mayor at James's suggestion, where residents could openly discuss their fears, hopes, and visions for their community. These forums became a catalyst for transformation, opening up conversations about diversity, equality, and acceptance. By the time winter arrived, bringing with it the quiet hush of snow-covered streets, Maple Grove was not the same town it had been a year before. James and Elizabeth's love, which had once been the subject of much gossip, had become a cornerstone of community growth and understanding. They had shown their neighbors that diversity could strengthen rather than divide, that acceptance enriched everyone's lives. Their wedding, held on a crisp December day amidst the backdrop of a winter wonderland, was not just a celebration of their union, but of the community's journey toward openness and acceptance. It was attended by nearly all of Maple Grove, including those who had once doubted them. The ceremony, filled with laughter and tears, was a poignant reminder of how far the town had come as they stood before their friends and family, exchanging vows of love and commitment. James and Elizabeth knew that their journey was far from over, but they also knew that together, with the support of a town that had grown to embrace them, they could face whatever the future held. And so, as the snow continued to fall gently outside the small church, Maple Grove celebrated not just a wedding, but a renewal of its own spirit, warmed by the fires of change and the enduring power of love. Winter's embrace softened into the gentle thaw of spring, and with it, Maple Grove burst anew with life and possibility. Dr. James Hartley and Elizabeth, now Elizabeth Hartley, found themselves not just at the center of a transformed community, but also pioneers in a collective awakening of consciousness and empathy. The warmth of their December wedding had lingered throughout the town, melting away the last remnants of skepticism. Even the most stalwart traditionalists found it difficult to ignore the palpable sense of unity and joy that the couple brought to every event and gathering. Their home became a hub of inclusivity, where neighborhood kids played in the yard alongside Elizabeth's children, and adults gathered to share stories and laughter. As Elizabeth took on her new role as not only a mother and wife, but also a community leader, she initiated several outreach programs aimed at bridging gaps between various social groups within Maple Grove. One such program was the Maple Grove Reads, a monthly book club that featured literature from diverse authors and cultures, promoting dialogue and understanding. Her efforts were complemented by James's continued advocacy for health education, particularly focusing on underserved communities within the town. The arrival of spring heralded the first anniversary of their marriage, and the couple decided to celebrate by organizing a community picnic in the local park. This event was meant to be a testament to the bonds that had strengthened over the year, featuring games for children, music performances by local artists, and a potluck of dishes representing the diverse backgrounds of Maple Grove's residents. On the day of the picnic, the park was vibrant with colors and sounds. Children dashed about, their laughter ringing through the air, while adults set up tables laden with an array of foods, from traditional American barbecue to exotic international cuisines that some had only ever read about in the book club discussions. James and Elizabeth, mingling among their guests, felt a deep sense of accomplishment and belonging. However, amidst the celebration, an unexpected challenge arose. A small group of newcomers to the town, unfamiliar with the Hartleys' story and their role in the community's transformation, voiced objections to the inclusivity initiatives. They argued that Maple Grove was losing its identity, echoing sentiments that had once been prevalent before Elizabeth's influence. James addressed the gathering calmly, his voice steady as he spoke about the importance of evolving and growing as a community. Elizabeth stood by his side, her presence a silent testament to the strength and grace that had won over so many hearts. The discussion that followed was intense yet respectful, with many townspeople coming forward to share their own stories of change and acceptance. As the conversation unfolded, it became evident that while much progress had been made, the path ahead still held obstacles. Yet, the majority of the community expressed overwhelming support for continuing down the road of inclusivity and openness. The newcomers, touched by the heartfelt testimonies, began to see the value in embracing diversity. Inspired by the day's events, Elizabeth proposed the idea of a unity festival, a larger, annual celebration that would not only celebrate Maple Grove's heritage, but also its future as a diverse and welcoming community. The proposal was met with enthusiastic approval, and planning began immediately, with community leaders and volunteers from all backgrounds coming together to turn this idea into reality. Months of preparation culminated in a festival that exceeded all expectations. The Unity Festival, held as summer turned to fall, showcased the best of what Maple Grove had become, a community enriched by its diversity. There were cultural exhibitions, health and wellness booths run by James and his clinic staff, art installations created by local school children, and a parade that featured floats designed by different community groups. As Elizabeth and James walked hand in hand through the festival, they were overwhelmed by the outpouring of support and love from the people around them. The festival not only celebrated Maple Grove's new identity, but also solidified the Hartleys' place within it. That evening, as the festival drew to a close with a spectacular fireworks display, James and Elizabeth reflected on the journey they had undertaken. They had faced doubts and resistance, but through perseverance and love, they had helped foster a community where once there had been division, there was now unity. Their story, once a source of controversy, had become a beacon of hope and a blueprint for other communities grappling with change. As they watched the fireworks illuminate the sky, they realized that their work was far from done. There were more communities to inspire, more barriers to break down, and more love to spread. In the heart of Maple Grove, under the light of bursting colors, James and Elizabeth Hartley stood together, ready to face whatever the future held, with the unshakable belief that love, indeed, conquers all. As the new year dawned in Maple Grove, the sense of community and unity cultivated by Dr. James Hartley and Elizabeth seemed to radiate throughout the town, igniting enthusiasm and proactive engagement across various facets of community life. The success of the inaugural Unity Festival had instilled a newfound eagerness in the residents to participate and contribute to the flourishing multicultural environment. Elizabeth, now deeply integrated into the fabric of the town's social and cultural life, launched a community center project aimed at providing a space where people of all ages could gather to learn, play, and grow together. She envisioned the center as a beacon of hope and learning, where children and adults alike could take classes ranging from arts and crafts to computer skills, and where cultural exchange was not just encouraged but celebrated. With spring's return, the community center's groundbreaking ceremony became a symbol of Maple Grove's continuing transformation. James spoke at the event, his words resonating with the pride and optimism that filled the air. He reflected on the journey that he and Elizabeth had embarked upon, from the skepticism and isolation to acceptance and leadership. His speech drew not just applause, but also vocal support from the crowd, many of whom had initially resisted the changes he and his wife had championed. Meanwhile, Elizabeth worked tirelessly, coordinating with architects and planners to ensure that the design of the center reflected the diversity of the community it would serve. She organized fundraising events, which, much to the delight of the townspeople, often turned into impromptu, multicultural celebrations themselves, featuring music, food, and dance from around the world. During this period of busy preparation and excited anticipation, life at the Hartley home was as vibrant and hectic as ever. Elizabeth's children, now fully entrenched in their schools and social circles, brought friends home regularly, turning the house into a lively, noisy hub of youthful energy. James, ever the patient and loving figure, found great joy in this lively household atmosphere, which had once seemed so daunting to him. As the community center neared completion, Elizabeth planned an opening gala that would double as a thank you to the town for its support and a showcase of the center's potential impact. The gala was a resounding success, attended by local dignitaries, residents, and even a few guests from neighboring towns who had heard of Maple Grove's remarkable transformation. The center itself was a marvel of inclusive design, with facilities that catered to various interests and needs, a state-of-the-art computer lab funded by local businesses, a dance studio with a spring-loaded floor, and a large multipurpose hall that could be used for events and celebrations. At the heart of the building was a library named after Elizabeth, filled with books in multiple languages, and featuring a special section dedicated to multicultural literature, inspired by the book club she had started. As winter melted into a lush spring, the community center became the town's beating heart, hosting cultural festivals, educational workshops, and family movie nights that drew crowds. Elizabeth often stood back during such events, her heart swelling with pride as she watched people from different backgrounds mingle, laugh, and learn from each other. She saw elderly couples teaching young ones traditional dances, teenagers tutoring seniors in computer skills, and toddlers of all hues playing together in the center's daycare area. James, too, found a fulfilling new role in offering weekly health and wellness classes, where he not only shared his medical knowledge but also learned from the experiences of attendees, many of whom came from backgrounds different from his own. His classes became so popular that they had to be moved to the larger multipurpose hall to accommodate the growing number of participants. As the couple looked forward to their second wedding anniversary, they planned a quiet celebration at home, a contrast to their usual community-focused events. It was a time of reflection for both, a moment to appreciate the personal growth and the deep bonds they had forged with each other and with their community. That evening, as they sat by the fireplace, James and Elizabeth exchanged gifts that symbolized their journey: a book of poems from around the world for Elizabeth, and for James, a set of paintings created by local artists, each depicting scenes from the Unity Festival. They talked about their hopes for the future, not just for themselves, but for Maple Grove. They envisioned a town that would continue to thrive on diversity and inclusivity, a place where every resident, new or old, felt valued and heard. Their conversation drifted into plans for expanding the community center's programs, possibly introducing scholarships for talented but underprivileged youths and initiating a sister city project with a community in another country. As they shared ideas, the night grew deep, and the fire burned down to glowing embers. Outside, Maple Grove slept peacefully, a town transformed by the vision of two people who had dared to believe in change. Inside, by the dying light of the fire, James and Elizabeth Hartley sat together, hands intertwined, ready to continue their work, fueled by love and a boundless hope for what was yet to come. Summer returned to Maple Grove with a gentle warmth that promised growth and renewal. This was the time of year when the community, already buzzing with the successful launch of the new community center, looked forward to the second annual Unity Festival. The festival had been expanded this year, reflecting not just the cultural diversity of Maple Grove, but also its embrace of new traditions and the deepening sense of community spirit that Elizabeth and Dr. James Hartley had nurtured. In the weeks leading up to the festival, Elizabeth was more involved than ever, building on the previous year's success. She aimed to include more interactive workshops and forums that would address topics ranging from cultural sensitivity to environmental sustainability. Her vision was for the festival to be a place of learning as well as celebration, where the exchange of ideas could happen as joyfully as the sharing of meals. Meanwhile, Dr. James, whose health initiatives had gained widespread acclaim, planned to introduce a new health fair segment at the festival. This would provide free health screenings, fitness demonstrations, and discussions led by professionals on topics such as mental health and holistic wellness. His dedication to the physical and mental well-being of his community had made him a beloved figure, whose influence was as profound as it was far-reaching. The day of the festival dawned clear and sunny, the perfect backdrop for what was to become a landmark event in Maple Grove's calendar. Early in the morning, the Hartleys, along with dozens of volunteers, were busy setting up the numerous stalls and stages. There was a palpable excitement in the air, a mixture of nervous energy and anticipation, as they prepared for the influx of visitors. As the festival began, people from all walks of life streamed into the park, greeted by the vibrant sounds of a live multicultural band and the delicious smells wafting from the food court. Children ran laughing through the crowd, their faces painted with flags from around the world, while their parents browsed stalls showcasing handmade crafts and art from local and international artisans. One of the new features of the festival was the World Tent, an idea Elizabeth had conceived to foster a deeper understanding of various cultures. Inside, visitors could listen to stories told by immigrants and refugees who had made Maple Grove their home, watch traditional dance performances, and participate in workshops on arts and crafts from around the globe. Dr. James' Health Fair was equally successful. Positioned right at the center of the festival, it attracted a steady stream of attendees curious about their health metrics or eager to try out yoga and meditation sessions being held in a quiet corner of the park. The fair not only provided valuable health insights, but also connected visitors with local health practitioners, reinforcing the community's commitment to wellness. As the afternoon wore on, Elizabeth took a moment to step back and observe the joyous scene before her. Families sat together on blankets, enjoying picnics. Teenagers competed in a friendly soccer match organized by a local sports club. Elderly couples danced to the tunes of their youth played by a jazz ensemble. It was a tapestry woven with threads of unity and joy, painted with the broad strokes of community and celebration. In a quiet moment, stolen away from the bustle, James joined Elizabeth on a small rise overlooking the park. They watched as the sun began to set, casting long shadows over the festival. James slipped his arm around Elizabeth, pulling her close. "Look at what you've helped to build," he whispered, his voice full of admiration and love. Elizabeth smiled, her eyes reflecting the golden sunset. "We built this together. With a lot of help, it's more than I dreamed it could be." As the day turned into evening, the festival culminated with a lantern release. Each lantern, inscribed with messages of hope and dreams for the future, created a spectacular sight as they floated up into the twilight sky. It was a symbolic gesture, one that Elizabeth had suggested, to represent the lifting of spirits and the soaring aspirations of the Maple Grove community. After the lanterns disappeared into the night sky, a grand fireworks display lit up the heavens, drawing gasps and applause from the crowd. James and Elizabeth stood hand in hand, surrounded by friends and neighbors, all united in their shared experience of the festival. As the last firework faded into the night, the couple knew that the festival had been more than just a success. It was a confirmation that Maple Grove was no longer just a place on the map. It had become a vibrant, diverse, and inclusive community, a model for others to follow. The impact of their work was evident not just in the laughter and joy of the day, but in the strengthened bonds between the people of Maple Grove. They had created a space where everyone was welcome, where differences were celebrated, and where the future was embraced with open arms. Walking home under the stars, the Hartleys felt a deep contentment and a powerful sense of purpose. They had faced adversity, changed perceptions, and built something lasting, not just for themselves or their children, but for everyone who called Maple Grove home. This sense of accomplishment filled them with an enduring hope, ready to face new challenges and continue their journey of making a difference. One heart, one mind at a time. As the vibrant echoes of the Unity Festival faded, Maple Grove settled into the rhythmic pace of daily life, enriched and vibrant from the threads of community woven through events like the festival. Yet, for Dr. James Hartley and Elizabeth, the journey was far from static. Their vision for the town continued to evolve, reflecting deeper insights and broader ambitions for the community they had come to cherish deeply. Autumn brought with it a chill that whispered of change. And with that change came a new project that Elizabeth was passionate about, establishing a cultural exchange program with a sister city in another country. This initiative aimed to extend the values of Maple Grove internationally, fostering global connections and understanding through student exchanges, cultural events, and shared community projects. Elizabeth spent countless hours in meetings with local educational leaders and international liaisons, drafting plans and discussing potential partnerships. She envisioned this program not just as a means of cultural exchange, but as a conduit for real-world learning experiences for Maple Grove's youth, opening their eyes to global issues and diversities. Dr. James, ever supportive, found himself drawn into this expansive project. Seeing the health implications of such cultural interactions, he proposed integrating health education into the exchange program, including workshops on global health challenges and preventive care practices from around the world. His ideas were met with enthusiasm, adding another layer to the already rich tapestry of the program. Meanwhile, the community center, now a humming hub of activity, faced the need for expansion. The array of programs offered, from language classes and art workshops to technology training, had outgrown the available space. Elizabeth, in her characteristic style, turned this challenge into an opportunity. She organized a community design workshop, inviting residents of Maple Grove to participate in planning the expansion, ensuring that the project was grounded in the needs and dreams of the community it served. As plans for the community center expansion and the cultural exchange program progressed, the Hartleys also nurtured their family life, which remained the bedrock of their strength. Their home was always open, a warm place where discussions about community projects often blended with family dinners and where Elizabeth's children, fully integrated into the fabric of Maple Grove, brought vitality and joy. One crisp autumn evening, as the family gathered around the fireplace, the discussion turned towards the upcoming holiday season. Elizabeth suggested that they host a multicultural holiday fair at the community center, celebrating the various holiday traditions of Maple Grove's diverse population. The idea was met with excited chatter from the children, each eager to contribute by showcasing their own heritage. The holiday fair turned out to be a microcosm of the larger community spirit. Stalls decorated with lights and cultural artifacts lined the newly expanded wing of the community center. There were Hanukkah menorahs, Diwali lamps, Christmas trees, and Kwanzaa kinaras, each display an educational piece on the traditions and histories of these celebrations. The evening of the fair, as James walked through the bustling crowd, he was struck by the laughter and learning happening all around him. Children darted from stall to stall, collecting stamps and their passport booklets for each cultural activity they participated in. From making Swedish Lucia crowns to writing New Year wishes in Japanese calligraphy. Elizabeth, watching the interactions with a content smile, felt a deep sense of fulfillment. Maple Grove had not only embraced diversity, but celebrated it with an enthusiasm that permeated every aspect of community life. The cultural exchange program was a natural outgrowth of this ethos, promising to spread this celebration beyond the borders of their town. As the fair drew to a close, the community gathered for a lighting ceremony where a giant globe was illuminated with lights representing every country from which Maple Grove residents hailed. It was a powerful symbol of unity and the interconnectedness of their community with the wider world. After the guests had left and the lights were dimmed, Elizabeth and James took a moment to reflect on the year's achievements. They discussed the upcoming launch of the cultural exchange program, scheduled for the new year, which would send the first group of Maple Grove students abroad. Amid these discussions, Elizabeth expressed her hope that their efforts would create lasting impressions on their children, instilling values of openness, respect, and a deep appreciation for global citizenship. James agreed, noting the importance of these lessons in an increasingly interconnected world. As they locked the community center and walked home under the starlit sky, James took Elizabeth's hand, squeezing it gently. "We're doing something incredible here, Liz," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "Yes, we are," Elizabeth replied, her voice steady but her eyes glistening with unshed tears of joy. "And it's just the beginning." Together, they continued walking, their steps echoing softly in the quiet night, surrounded by the peace of a community transformed by love, hard work, and an unwavering belief in the power of unity. With the success of Maple Grove's cultural exchange program gaining momentum, Dr. James Hartley and Elizabeth began the new year filled with hope and determination. The program was now in full swing, and the first group of students had already traveled abroad, their dispatch marked by a festive send-off that was covered by local media. The community buzzed with pride, witnessing the tangible effects of its embrace of multiculturalism and global awareness. Back at home, the challenges continued to evolve. The community center, now a cornerstone of Maple Grove, required continuous oversight and development. Elizabeth, ever diligent, noticed an increasing demand for adult education and career development courses, reflecting the changing needs of the town's growing population. In response, she initiated a partnership with local businesses and educational institutions to offer vocational training and professional development workshops at the center. Meanwhile, Dr. James had identified another pressing need: mental health support. The global exposure from the exchange program had opened up discussions about stress and cultural adaptation challenges faced by participants. To address this, James proposed the establishment of a mental health initiative at the community center, offering counseling services and workshops focused on managing stress, enhancing resilience, and understanding cultural shock. As winter melted into spring, the first participants of the exchange program returned, their stories filled with experiences and insights that were eagerly absorbed by the community. Public presentations were organized at the community center, where participants shared tales of their travels, the people they met, and the lessons they learned. These events not only celebrated the travelers' returns, but also reinforced the community's commitment to fostering global citizenship. The Hartleys, witnessing the growth and positive changes, felt a deepening connection to their work and to each other. Their partnership, both at home and in community service, had become a powerful example of teamwork and mutual respect. However, as their professional responsibilities expanded, they were mindful to maintain a balance, ensuring quality family time. Their home was often filled with laughter, discussions, and planning sessions, which, while busy, were always grounded in love and mutual support. On a bright day in early spring, Elizabeth and James took a moment to enjoy a leisurely walk through the community garden, another project they had supported, which was now blooming with the efforts of local green thumbs. The garden was not just a place for cultivation, but a space for community members to meet, share, and learn from each other, much like the other initiatives they had championed. As they walked, they discussed plans for the upcoming anniversary of the Unity Festival. Elizabeth envisioned an even larger event this year, with more countries represented and even greater community involvement. She proposed a global village theme, where each country represented in Maple Grove could have its own pavilion, showcasing its unique culture, food, and crafts. James, inspired by the idea, suggested integrating a health and wellness subtheme, highlighting traditional healing practices from around the world alongside modern medical knowledge. This would not only complement the cultural showcases, but also enrich the community's understanding and appreciation of diverse health perspectives. Their conversation was interrupted by the sound of laughter. A group of children from the community center's after-school program was visiting the garden to learn about plant biology and sustainable gardening. Watching the children's eager faces and listening to their questions, Elizabeth and James were reminded of the core reason behind their efforts: to build a future where these young minds could thrive in a world without borders, respecting and celebrating diversity. Motivated by this vision, they returned to their planning with renewed vigor. Over the following weeks, they engaged with various cultural groups, local artists, healthcare professionals, and educators, each bringing their expertise and enthusiasm to the festival's planning. The community's response was overwhelmingly positive, with many volunteering to help or participate in some way. The festival day arrived, bathed in sunshine and the harmonious sounds of a multicultural choir. The global village was a spectacle of colors, smells, and sounds. Each pavilion offered a glimpse into a different culture. From Japanese tea ceremonies and Indian Bollywood dance workshops to Italian cooking demonstrations and Nigerian drumming circles, the health and wellness area was equally dynamic, with sessions on meditation, yoga, Tai Chi, and discussions on nutrition and holistic health practices. As the day unfolded, Elizabeth and James, hand in hand, moved through the crowds, speaking with participants, sharing stories, and soaking in the joyous atmosphere. Their hearts were full as they witnessed the fabric of their community, woven together with threads of understanding, respect, and cooperation, flourishing in a celebration that transcended cultural boundaries. As night fell, the festival concluded with a spectacular display of fireworks, symbolizing the bright, hopeful future of Maple Grove. The Hartleys, standing amidst their fellow residents, felt a profound sense of accomplishment and gratitude. They had dreamed of a community that embraced diversity and fostered global connections. And now, that dream was a vivid, vibrant reality. Back home, as they reflected on the day and the journey they had undertaken, they knew that their work would continue, ever evolving with the needs and dreams of their beloved town. They were committed to this life, this cause, and each other, ready to face whatever challenges and opportunities lay ahead with open hearts and open minds. As Maple Grove transitioned into autumn, the crisp air brought a reflective mood to the Hartley family. Elizabeth and Dr. James Hartley, still riding the high from the resounding success of the Unity Festival, found themselves considering the next steps in their mission to further integrate global awareness into their community. They decided to embark on their most ambitious project yet, a global leadership and innovation center, designed to serve as a beacon for international cooperation and education in Maple Grove. The idea for the center had sparked during a dinner conversation, where Elizabeth reflected on the profound impact the cultural exchange program had on local youth. Imagine a space where this exchange of ideas isn't just occasional, but constant. Elizabeth mused, her eyes alight with the possibility. Dr. James, always supportive of initiatives that combined education with community welfare, agreed wholeheartedly. He added, and let's integrate a focus on global health issues. It could become a hub where future leaders learn to tackle worldwide challenges. The couple approached the planning with their typical blend of enthusiasm and meticulous care. They organized community forums to gather ideas, ensuring the project would meet the diverse needs of Maple Grove's residents. These forums became a melting pot of creativity, with contributions ranging from tech innovators proposing state-of-the-art environmental technologies to educators suggesting curricula that included global politics and social justice. As winter approached and the first snow blanketed the town, the plans for the Global Leadership and Innovation Center were approved. The center would feature a large conference hall, multiple classrooms, a library filled with global resources, and an innovation lab designed to foster technological advancements with a societal impact. The architectural design of the building itself was inspired by ecological and sustainable principles, featuring solar panels, green roofs, and natural lighting, reflecting the community's commitment to environmental stewardship. Construction began in early spring, with the community eagerly watching the progress. Elizabeth and Dr. James took this opportunity to launch a series of workshops aimed at preparing the community for the center's offerings. Topics range from intercultural communication to the basics of international business negotiations. Each workshop designed to equip residents with skills and knowledge to thrive in a globalized world. Amidst their professional projects, the Hartleys remained dedicated to nurturing their family life. They often spent evenings discussing the day's events over dinner, a tradition that helped maintain their strong family bond despite their hectic schedules. Their children, now more aware of the wider world, frequently contributed their own insights and questions, further enriching these family discussions. Summer arrived with the completion of the Global Leadership and Innovation Center, just in time for the grand opening scheduled on the anniversary of the Unity Festival. The event was marked with speeches from local leaders, performances celebrating international cultures, and guided tours of the new facility. Dr. James gave a keynote address on the importance of global health awareness, while Elizabeth hosted a panel discussion on women's leadership roles around the world. The center quickly became a cornerstone of the community. It hosted international symposiums, youth leadership camps, and innovation challenges that attracted thinkers and doers from around the globe. For Elizabeth and Dr. James, it was a dream realized, embodying their vision of a community that not only adapted to, but embraced the challenges and opportunities of the global stage. As autumn returned, painting Maple Grove in hues of orange and gold, the Hartleys celebrated another successful year at the center's anniversary. The event mirrored the grand opening, but expanded to include an international food festival and a startup pitch competition for young entrepreneurs. Reflecting on the past year, Elizabeth felt a profound sense of fulfillment. "We've started something that will outlive us," she told James as they walked through the bustling event. "Something that will continue to impact this community and our world positively." Dr. James, watching a group of young participants animatedly discussing a project, felt a similar sentiment. "Yes, and seeing these young people so engaged, I'm confident the future is in good hands." Their conversation was interrupted by the laughter of their children, who had just won a prize at the Innovation Challenge. Joining in the celebration, Elizabeth and Dr. James shared a look of quiet joy and pride. Maple Grove, once just a dot on the map, was now a vibrant example of global unity and innovation, a testament to the power of vision, perseverance, and community. As the leaves of Maple Grove turned from gold to the rich browns of late autumn, the Global Leadership and Innovation Center celebrated its first year, a milestone that marked more than just the passage of time. It highlighted the profound impact the center had on the community and beyond. Elizabeth and Dr. James Hartley, reflecting on the year, felt a mix of pride and responsibility to continue pushing the boundaries of what they had started. Winter brought a reflective chill to Maple Grove, and with it, the opportunity to assess and expand the programs that had been so eagerly embraced by the community. Elizabeth took the lead on developing new educational programs, particularly a series that focused on global environmental challenges and sustainable solutions. These programs, aimed at students and community leaders alike, brought in experts from around the world to discuss climate change, renewable energy, and sustainable urban planning. Dr. James, meanwhile, was deep into the integration of global health issues into the center's curriculum. He organized a series of workshops that addressed public health challenges from a global perspective, including pandemics and health equity. These sessions were designed not just to educate, but also to foster collaborations between Maple Grove's medical professionals and their counterparts across the globe. The center also launched a virtual exchange program, an initiative that allowed participants who could not travel physically the opportunity to engage with international peers. This program used cutting-edge virtual reality technology to simulate real-world interactions and cultural immersions, making global education accessible to all, regardless of physical or financial limitations. Spring blossomed with the promise of renewal. And for the Hartleys, it brought a renewal of commitment to their personal and professional lives. Elizabeth, ever passionate about community empowerment, began a mentorship program for young women interested in careers in international relations and global development. This program not only offered guidance and resources, but also paired each mentee with a mentor from around the world, creating a support network that spanned continents. Dr. James focused on expanding the health initiative, particularly by integrating mental health services with a cultural sensitivity component. Recognizing the diverse makeup of Maple Grove and the various stigmas surrounding mental health in different cultures, he ensured that the services provided were respectful, inclusive, and effective. This initiative not only addressed the immediate needs of the community, but also set a precedent for how global health challenges could be managed locally. As summer approached, the center prepared to host its first Global Innovation Summit, a gathering designed to showcase the innovations and collaborations that had originated from its programs. Elizabeth and Dr. James worked tirelessly to organize the event, which would feature keynote speakers, panel discussions, and an exhibition of projects developed by participants of the center. The summit was a vibrant affair, attended by dignitaries, scholars, and activists from around the world. One of the highlights was a panel discussion on women's empowerment, led by Elizabeth, which discussed the challenges and successes of women leaders globally. Another was Dr. James' presentation on a new collaborative research project focusing on the use of artificial intelligence in diagnosing infectious diseases, which had received substantial international funding. Amid the formal events, the center also hosted cultural evenings, where music, dance, and food from around the world were shared, celebrating the cultural diversity that was at the heart of the center's mission. These evenings became a favorite, not just for the entertainment, but for the genuine connections they fostered among attendees from different backgrounds. As autumn returned, bringing with it the second anniversary of the Global Leadership and Innovation Center, Elizabeth and Dr. James took a moment during the celebrations to step back and reflect on the journey, standing together on the balcony of the center, overlooking the crowd of smiling faces. They felt an overwhelming sense of accomplishment and hope. "The world feels a little smaller tonight, doesn't it?" Elizabeth remarked, watching a group of children playing below, their laughter blending with the music. "It does," Dr. James agreed, his arm around her shoulders, and a bit friendlier too. Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of their children, now more involved in the center's activities. They shared stories of their projects and the new friends they had made, their faces alight with enthusiasm and pride. As the family joined back into the festivities, Elizabeth and Dr. James knew that their vision for a connected, educated, and compassionate community was no longer just a vision, but a vibrant reality. And as Maple Grove continued to grow under the canopy of their efforts, they were reminded that every small step towards understanding and cooperation was a step towards a better world. This belief, shared by the entire Hartley family, was what continued to drive the Global Leadership and Innovation Center forward, towards new challenges and new achievements in the years to come. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey through Maple Grove and the transformative impact of the Global Leadership and Innovation Center. We hope this story has inspired you as much as it has inspired us, highlighting the power of community and global connection. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video to spread the message of unity and innovation. Until next time, keep building bridges and breaking boundaries. Thank you for watching.